Hello everybody. Today we're going to be making sourdough pizza dough. So first thing you need is sourdough starter. I already have this made. I'll tell you how to do it. It's really easy. You put about a cup of flour and a cup of water in a jar like this. You let it sit uncovered for a couple days on your counter. And it should start to bubble a little bit. Basically, when it starts bubbling, then you can feed it a little bit more. If it's too wet, if it's too dry, you want it like a consistency like this. Just a little runny, kind of like pancake mix. This is water and flour sitting over time. It smells really good. It smells like sourdough bread. But you just add. This is the consistency you want when you first start out mixing your flour. So flour and water, about a cup of each, maybe a little bit more water depending on your consistency. And then you leave it in a jar uncovered at first so the bacteria can grow. And then after it starts bubbling, add another cup of flour and about a cup of water until it looks like this, and then cover it, but leave this lid loose. This is loose, so as you can see, it kind of overflowed a little bit already. Sometimes if you fill it too full, it expands as the bacteria grow, and it will ooze out. So you want to make sure you don't tighten it. If you tighten it, the glass will explode. It's not good. Don't make it explode. But you leave this loose. If it overflows, it doesn't make a huge mess. It just runs a little bit on the floor. Not on the floor, but on the counter. You can put it on a plate if you want, if you're worried about it. If you want to give it a little head start, you can add a little bit of yeast, just like a pinch of yeast to give it a head start, but that's not necessary. Then you do that, then you keep it on your counter, and you discard half, and you refill a cup and a half, 1 cup of water, 1 cup of flour every day, at least once a day. If you forget a day or even 2 days, don't worry, not a big deal. You can still feed it and do the normal, discard and feed, and it will still work. It'll just take it a little bit longer to get caught up. It takes a couple hours longer, really not that big of a deal. So if you're not going to use it for a while, you can put it in your refrigerator. You can feed it first, put it in your refrigerator, make sure, the line is, you don't want it any higher than half. I would say even less than half is better, because it does expand. You still want to keep the lid loose. It will make your refrigerator smell like sourdough bread, because it is gassing off. But you can leave it in your refrigerator for about a week or a week and a half, usually, between each feeding. So if you're not going to use it for a while, you can keep it that way. But this will keep indefinitely on your counter. This has been on my counter for probably a month, and I feed it every day or every other day. Sometimes twice a day, depending on if I'm baking a lot. I've been making bread, a lot of sourdough bread. That is white bread over there. Whoop, white bread. Made some of that. I didn't use any sourdough starter for that. Sorry, my counter's a mess. So, so that's how you do it. So for this recipe, you will need 2 cups, thereabouts, didn't have to be exact, but around 2 cups of sourdough starter for this recipe. So you'll have to make this first. And then after that, you could use this. Now, this recipe uses unfed sourdough starter. So when you're about to feed this, when you feed it, you discard some. So you pour the discard into a measuring cup. Hopefully you have 2 cups. If not, just feed it. Don't discard any. Feed it a little more and a little more water. And then you can wait till that rises and then sinks again. And then you'll have more to use. So you basically make as much as you want. You can get 2 of these jars. Instead of discarding it, if you plan on making a lot, you can. I have 2 jars. I have that one there and this jar. So what I do is I dump some of this into another jar, feed that one, also feed this one, and that gives me a lot of starter to use. So this uses the flat starter, in other words, unfed. So before you feed it, after it's been made, before you feed it again to replenish it, you would use the discard, the stuff you'd either throw away or use. You use that for this recipe. Okay? So let's get started. Okay, so we're ready to start. First thing, I'm doubling this recipe. This is a recipe I got on kingarthurflour.com, their website. They have a lot of good recipes that work really well. So if you need any recipes for sourdough, quick recipes, this is very good. Okay, so I'll leave a link to this recipe in the comment section. You can check it out. Okay. So what I'm doing, this is a recipe I'm making for the freezer. So I'm making these ahead of time, put them in bags, like bread bags, unrisen. So as soon as I mix it, put it in a bag, seal it, throw it in the freezer. And that way, if I want a pizza, I don't have to do anything. So if I take it out of the freezer, once it warms up, it should be ready to go because it'll rise as it warms up. And so once it warms up, it's ready to go. You can roll it out and make your pizza. One recipe makes about two 14-inch or so, 14 to 16-inch pizzas, thinner crust, or like a 12-inch thicker crust, okay? Like really small, thick, 12-inch, yeah. So if you want a larger pizza, then just keep it this, or thicker crust. Just make this for one pizza, one larger 16-inch or whatever pizza. So I'm not going to be rolling this out. I'm just going to make the dough and freezing it. Okay, I'll make another one later on about how to roll out pizza dough. I'm kind of learning. I went and looked at Domino's Pizza, and they do it totally different. I use a rolling pin. It works with a rolling pin. It's just quite difficult to get it in a circular pattern, and also it keeps contracting. It's very elastic, so it keeps contracting. So it just takes a long time to roll it out. Nothing crazy. It takes about 5 minutes or so, but takes longer than what they do at Domino's. They do it in about 30 seconds, so they're pretty fast. So anyway, we got it calls for 1 cup of sourdough starter. I'm doubling it. I have 2 cups here. 2.5 cups flour, roughly, plus 2 tablespoons in case you need a little more. Or actually it's water. So 2.5 cups flour. So I'm doubling it. So that's 5 cups. And then the water is 1/2 cup water or to 3/4 cup, depending on the consistency. I found that 3/4 cup works great. I like mine a little bit on the soft side. You can always make it thicker by adding flour to it, kneading it. But once it's, I guess you can always add water too, but that's a lot harder to do. And 1 teaspoon salt. I'll be using 2. The salt I'm using today is Toomey's. I'm not sure if you can see that. Toomey's is a California company that makes amazing seasoning. This is good on chicken. It's good on eggs. I haven't found anything besides sweet stuff, obviously, that it's not good on. It's very, very good stuff. It's like garlic and pepper and salt and different seasonings. Very, very tasty. Highly recommended. They're not sponsoring me. I'm not big enough to be sponsored yet, but I really like this stuff. We use it a lot. It is a little bit on the pricey side, but it's really good. And this will last you quite a while. This bottle here lasts us probably a year, or maybe a little bit under a year. But we use it for a lot of stuff, so it's very good. And then I have Italian seasoning because I like to flavor my dough a little bit, give it a little extra flavor so it's not as boring. So I have a mix of Italian seasoning. And then yeast, quick rise yeast or dry active yeast. Takes 1/2 teaspoon. I'm doubling it, so that'll be 1 teaspoon. Well, the salt is 1 teaspoon also, and I'm doubling it to 2 teaspoons. For the water, I'm using bottled water, mostly because my tap water is actually pretty good. It doesn't have too many chemicals in it. But a lot of tap water has higher chlorine or higher chloride inside of it, and that will prevent the bacteria in the sourdough starter from growing. So it could take it a long time to rise, or it just may not rise, depending on your level of chlorine inside your tap water. Okay, The reason is the city doesn't want mold and algae and stuff growing inside the water in the pipes, so they treat it, you know, which makes sense. For this, we want those to grow, so it will rise. The yeast helps that. I mean, the yeast will, when you add the yeast here, it does help with that, but the yeast is kind of optional. I use it because I like the flavor. It gives it like a sour, more sour, bready, like a strong bread flavor. But you actually don't need it in this recipe. It'll work without it because this basically is its own yeast, okay? But it does work better with the yeast, obviously. I like the flavor better. That's about it. So we're gonna put this all together and go from there. So this is the 2 cups of, I'm doubling this recipe, just keep in mind. 2 cups of sourdough starter. Try to get most of it out. And then I like to do, because there's a lot in there still, I'll fill this up with water. I'm using, so 3/4 cup of water, I'm using 1.5 cups. 1.5, right about there. Actually, a little bit more. It's pretty good. Okay. Let's stir it up a little bit, get all that, try to get most of that, I'm making a mess. Most of that starter in. Okay, and then pour that in. Okay, this is a really easy recipe, guys. Super easy. Then I'll put the yeast in real quick. Just self-rise. I keep it in this container in the refrigerator because it lasts longer in the refrigerator. I think you can keep it in the freezer as well. So one teaspoon yeast. Put that aside. 2 teaspoons salt. This stuff is amazing. Let's see if you can check this out. Will it focus? This stuff's really good stuff. It smells really good. So 1, 2 for the salt. And then this is mostly salt. This is very salty, so a little bit goes a long way. And then some, I don't eyeball this. I just put in whatever I think is good. It's probably about, I don't know, teaspoon or so of Italian spices, Italian seasoning. About a teaspoon, I would say. Got everything. Now that's everything except for the flour. Let's do the flour here. I'm not sure if it's bread flour or all-purpose. It works with both, so it's not picky. It calls for all-purpose. Bread flour will work just as good. How do I know? Because I've used bread flour with it. It works fine. So here's, when you're measuring flour, you take it, fill it up, and then you just swipe it off. Use the back of a butter knife or some flat surface. That's pretty flat. So that's 1. And 2. 3. 4. See if I can get this in one shot. Can I get it one cup shot? There you go, 1 cup. 5. Okay. So flour. Now, all that's left to do is to put it on the mixer and let it knead for a while. So let me move you over there. Okie doke, we're at the mixer. Bring this over here. Oh boy, I gotta take this off first. Ugh, it won't fit on there. Got liquid in there, so I'll dump it out. Pop that in. Put the dough hook on. Okay. Lift it up. Up. Okay. And put it on knead. Okay, so I'm noticing it's a bit wet, so I'm gonna add a little bit of flour to it. 2 tablespoons or so. You don't have to be exact. And then we'll continue mixing this until it's smooth consistency. I may add a little more. It's pretty wet. So I guess I had a little bit more than 1.5 cups of water. That's all right. No harm, no foul. Here we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. See how elastic this is? It's pretty stretchy. It's a little sticky, but I like it. I like my dough a little bit on the sticky side. So we'll take this off the hook. Take the hook off. Up. Come off pretty good. Push this back. Okay, so what I like to do is coat it with oil. First, I'll get it into like more of a ball. It's pretty sticky. I don't want it sticking in the bag I'm going to put it in, or my hands for that matter. It's not too bad. It's sticky, but not horrible. So I'll coat it with oil, just a little bit of spray. That's it. And I'll scrape the bottom. Cover that with a little oil. And then it should come loose pretty easily right here. Okay. Ooh, a little sticky. Woo. Okay, there we go. Doesn't have to be perfect ball right now because it's just going into a bag. So you can get a bag for that. It's a bread bag I got on Amazon. You could use Ziploc. You could use pretty much whatever bag. Whatever pretty airtight bag you have is good. Drop this in the bottom of the bag. Doesn't stick to the bottom. And then you just kind of close it up. Twist it. And I like to tie it. You can put a twist tie on it, but it's a little bit more airtight when you tie it. So I do this. Ooh, come on. Yeah, I got dough on me, and dough's a little bit hard to wash off. So there you go. Tight, tight. And I will label that thing. If I can write on this. Probably better to label it before. Pizza dough. And I'll put a number 4 for 4 pizzas. So this will make 4. Divide it in quarters. If you were to want to make pizza, you would cut this into quarters and make each ball a 14-inch pizza, or in half and make a little bit larger pizza, or a pizza with thicker crust. But that's it. You put this in the freezer when you want to use it. Pull it out. Let it sit at room temperature until it rises. Take it out of the bag first while it's frozen, because it'll see all these creases in here. If you take it out after it's rose, for one, it'll blow up the bag. It'll push out the bag, make a split, and come out ooze and be a mess. You don't want that. So while it's frozen, take it out of the bag, put it in a bowl, line it with a little oil if you want, and you'll come out in one piece as opposed to an oozy mess sticking to the bag. Okay. But if you pull it out when it's frozen, it won't stick to the bag. You may have to be careful here, but it should come out pretty easily. That's it. Thank you for watching, and God bless you, and have a great day. Let me know in the comments if you make this. I'm curious to know if you guys tried this recipe on King Arthur flour. Let me know how it turns out. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Thanks a lot.